What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. I hope you guys enjoyed that little introduction. I'm not going to do them for all of my videos, but I really like doing them, so I'm going to try and do them as much as possible. I think they make a nice little treat now and then. But in any case, let's take a look at some of the army compositions before we jump into the battle itself. The first army we're looking at today is one of the two Kingdom of Arnor armies that have teamed up for this battle. This one's being commanded by Sawbones. He's got 6 units of Arnorian men-at-arms and a nice little fodder unit for Arnor. They, for all intents and purposes, they are a orc fodder unit just for one of the good factions. They're not really great at anything, but they are cheap and you can bring a lot of them, so they make up a little bit for their lack of stats in their large amounts of numbers and the large numbers of companies that you can field. Sawbones also has 1 unit of Dunedain Scouts. I'm not 100% sold in these guys as unit just horse archers in general in Reforged. The Elven ones are really strong, but that's because they have AP arrows and insane Elven accuracy. The Dunedain Scouts are just a lower number mounted version of the Dunedain Rangers, but they are, of course, useful as any swift cavalry bowman is for nice flank attacks and things like that. So you can use them to support your cavalry, for example, getting in behind a cavalry fight and just pound them from the rear. I don't even want to say that, it just sounds too sexual. But shooting them from behind. So yeah, they definitely have a purpose, but I'm not entirely... I probably wouldn't have brought them. In any case, I got 2 units of Dunedain Troll Slayers. These guys are really interesting as a unit. They've got low ammunition. I think they've only got about 5 volleys that you'll get out of them, but they do a ton of AP arrow damage, so they're great for sniping high priority targets like general units, for example. These guys, 2 of these guys can destroy a general unit and give you that morale advantage right off the bat really quickly in a game. They are low armor, however. I think they only have about 6 armor, so anything above an entry-level militia archer unit will be able to take these guys down with mass volley fire. They do have an extra HP just to keep them alive for a little bit longer and to balance out their low numbers, but you can wear them down very, very quickly with more elite archer units or with mass volley fire. The elves are great at taking these guys down. Over here we have 1 unit of Dunedain Bodyguard. These guys are a lot like the Troll Slayers. They have a lot of the same advantages, AP arrows, AP and melee, that sort of thing. But they've got better armor. They have a little bit lower numbers, so it kind of balances out. In behind, Sawbones has 2 units of dismounted Dunedain Knights. Honestly, some of the most reliable heavy infantry in the game. You can get 2 of these guys, I think, before a price increase, and they've got like 3 HP. So they'll stick around in combat for a very long time, assuming you don't get them stuck in against some elite AP units. Up here, we have the rest of Sawbones' cavalry force. Sawbones' cavalry force. Sawbones' cavalry force. He's got 1 unit of Bodyguard, which is an AP unit. He's also got 2 units of Knights of Inuminas, who are some of the sexiest, scariest heavy cavalry in the game. I think their biggest drawback is that they are quite expensive, and they're very low numbers, and they're very slow as well. So they are vulnerable to artillery fire. That's something to keep in mind when you bring them. You want to try and think like 2 or 3 moves ahead of what your opponent may do to react to them. Over here we have the second Arnorian army. I'm not going to call him Ultimate Douchebag the entire time. There's just no way I'm doing that. So I'm just going to call him Captain, because that's one of his monikers on the official Discord. So Captain has 2 units of Knights of Inuminas and 1 unit of Bodyguard to mirror the cavalry deployment of his ally. He's got a little bit different, a few different picks in terms of infantry. He's got 6 units of Arthedain men-at-arms, who are a much better, much more reliable mainline infantry unit than the Arnorian men-at-arms. He's also got, I don't know where they're hiding right now, but he's got 1 unit of dismounted Dunedain Knights, which is where his general's hanging out, right there. As I said, very reliable infantry unit. Up here, he's got a little bit more robust skirmish units. He's got 1 unit of Dunedain Rangers, who they're really good. They can hide anywhere. They're very sneaky, very good ambush archers. They can usually take like two or 3 of them, I think, before the price increase. They are quite lightly armored, though, so keep that in mind. They are very vulnerable to counterfire. He's also brought excuse me, the 2 units of Dunedain Troll Slayers and 1 unit of Dunedain Bodyguard. So a very similar army to that of Sawbones with a few quirks. He's definitely got more mainline infantry to make up for the fact that Sawbones has just higher numbers and some crappier mainline infantry, but Sawbones has a little bit stronger elite corps. But moving on over here, we have the forces of Dol Amroth being commanded by Mates? I'm just going to call him Mates, that's just way easier. He's got, I believe, 6 units of Dol Amroth men-at-arms who all lack armor upgrades, so unfortunately you don't get to see the sexy new model, but they are still a very nice mainline infantry unit, better by far than their Gondorian brothers. He's also brought 3 units of Tirthair marksmen. You can't see them back here, but he's got 1 unit of Nimrodel Rangers. And behind that, he's got a unit of Trebuchet, because who does not want to take advantage of the Trebuchet? Usually, when you see Arnor or Gondor or Dol Amroth, for example, excuse me, they will be bringing in Trebuchet because they are the only factions that can actually do it. And Trebuchets have an insane range in the 0.9 patch for Reforged. Their accuracy leaves, especially with flaming ammunition, leaves much to be desired, but still, definitely a worthy pick if your strategy is to make your enemies come to you and to dictate the terms of your engagement. Out front here, we got 2 units of Dol Amroth Pikemen. Pikemen are just so strong in this. You do not want to play with these guys from the front. They don't look like much, right? They don't look terribly heavily armored, but they do have pretty decent armor for pikemen, and from the front, these guys will massacre anything you throw at them. His general bodyguard pick is a unit of Haven Guard. Everybody loves the Haven Guard. If you guys watch UMAD Commander's videos, then you'll know that the Haven Guard are among the top tier of shock infantry in 0.9 Reforged. So definitely a nice pick for his general's bodyguard. And of course, you're going to want to keep your general's bodyguard out of the thick of action, and the Haven Guard are usually the final fallback for Dol Amroth. Now you can't see them, but there is, I believe, over in the forest area, a couple units of cavalry. He's got 1 unit of Knights of the Silver Swan, who are fantastic. They've got really competitive cost, and he's also got a unit of White Knights, who are the ultimate melee cavalry for Dol Amroth. And I would say they're probably the best melee cavalry in the game. They've got a lot of HP and a lot of damage. Moving on to Dol Amroth's ally, we've got the forces of Rohan, being commanded by D.I. Rohan Knight. And if this is who I think it is, he is a very, very strong Rohan player. And you guys are going to see a lot of really good teamwork between him and Dol Amroth today. But regardless, he's bringing, I believe, 4 units of Riddermark Axemen, who are really nice shock troops. Obviously, he's going for a shock build, and like a nice rush army, that sort of thing. He's got 2 units of Marshals of the Red, who are just an upgraded version of the Riddermark Axemen with extra HP and a lot more damage, and therefore more staying power. He's also got 1 unit of Helm Hammerers. This is a new, I think this is a new unit created by the Reforged team, or it may be from DAC, I'm not too sure. But in any case, these guys have like 3 HP, they are AP, they are everything you'd want out of a heavy infantry unit. You'll only ever be able to bring, I think, about 1 of them in your kind of bog standard multiplayer battles. In the back, we have the Pride of the Rohan Army. We have their cavalry, 1 unit of Rohan bodyguards, 1 unit of Rohan nobles, formerly known as like Royal Guard or Royal Nobles or something like that. And a new unit in 0.9, we have the Kalanordhan Knights. These guys have had to go through some serious balancing because they were just so strong. So they've lost a lot of their numbers, but they have retained their AP and everything, multiple HP. These guys are super strong. Don't underestimate them. These 15 cavalrymen will kill literally hundreds of foes if played properly. Over here we have the rest of DI's infantry force. He's got, I believe, 3 units of Aorling archers. Some of them are hiding in here. You can obviously see them because they've got the stakes deployed. But he's also got 3 units of Aorling militia to back them up as well. A nice little cheap spear pick to give him a little bit of extra numbers. And yeah, just other stuff like that. So let's move on now to the... This is an interesting pairing. The elves and the dwarves fighting together. The dwarven faction is being controlled by Apollo the Great, who is another very experienced dwarf player. I think this is probably his main faction. He's got 3 units of Khazad warriors, 1 unit of Hammerers of Gundabad, 2 units of Ironfoot crossbows, 1 unit of catapults, a couple units of Erebor infantry who are a new unit. They are AP, multiple HP. They're basically a more expensive, more powerful unit of the Ironfoot Guard. And he also has some Ironfoot Guard. You can see them right there. Very sexy, reliable battle line infantry unit. They do lack AP unlike the Erebor infantry, so they cost a little bit less to balance that out. But they do have the 2 HP, which makes them very, very strong. He's also got 1 unit of Mithril Guard, which I believe is where his general's hanging out. Yeah, you can see Dane Ironfoot himself right there. And a single unit of Khazad-dûm Reclaimers, who are badass. These guys are amazing. They've got, they're a Javelin / throwing axe unit. I think they've got like 18 Javelin damage and like 42 AP damage in melee. So they are very, very versatile. Moving on over here, we have the Woodland Realms, one of the 2 elven factions that is new in 0.91. This is being commanded by Ragnar, who's a player I'm not really familiar with. I think he might be new to the Discord. But in any case, he's bringing 1 unit of Elder Kingsguard, who got a nice buff in this patch. They are 3 HP beastly cavalry, and a worthy pick for a general's bodyguard, which is indeed where Thranduil is going to be hanging out in this battle. Over here, we have a unit of Elder Pathfinders. Fantastic shock cavalry. I really like these guys. They're very fast. They combine a like elven HP and staying power with the quickness that you've come to associate with the elves. So they are very, very good cavalry on the charge, and it's very easy to get them cycle charging quickly and doing a lot of damage. Up here we have the Elder Palace Guard, still top tier. In my opinion, these guys are some of the best infantry in the game. If you get these guys in like a nice position to support a main battle line, for example, they will carve through everything. They've still got like 5 HP. and I don't know if they have AP anymore, but they've still got really high attack and defense values. They are a little bit low in the armor department, however, so that is their main weakness. You can shoot them down with arrows. So be careful when you use them, because they're a very powerful, very sexy unit, and you don't want to lose them to like some mid-tier archers. Over here we have a unit of Elder Council, which I believe is a new unit. Not new in the sense that it's never been seen before. I think this is coming from DAC, but it is a new unit for this faction. These guys are javelins. They're also pretty decent medium-tier spearmen after the fact. So definitely a worthy, versatile pick rather, for the Woodland Realms. He's also bringing a couple units of Hiri Bang. Everybody knows the Hiri Bang, and we all love them. We've got the Elder Royal Guard, who are 2 HP again. These guys are really strong now. I don't think they have AP in melee anymore, so that's their big drawback. They've also got pretty low numbers, but in terms of staying power and versatility, they're very strong infantry after the fact as well. Moving on to the main line, it's a little bit interesting. He's got 1 unit of Hirnek, 1 unit of Hiri Lang, and you can't see them, but he's got 3 units of Woodland Patrol, which is a brand new unit. You guys will see lots of them in this battle, I guarantee it. And 1 unit of Sindar Bladesmen, who have fallen a little bit from their previous overpowered glory in previous patches, but they are still really good. Just don't get them shot down by arrows because they don't have their HP anymore, so it's really easy to deal with them with massed volley fire. Now we can move on to the 4th and final team. This is the Eastern Alliance. I love this. We have Khand here being commanded by Delramur, who's bringing 2 units of Khandish Marauders. Let's take a look at this model. If you guys are familiar with the Last Days of the 3rd Age mod for Mountain Blade, then you will recognize these guys right away, and I'm so happy that this model made it in to Reforged. This is, I think, taken directly from that mod, or maybe the mod takes it directly from some other Lord of the Rings mod. I don't know, but in any case, you can see that elsewhere in Mountain Blade, which I think is really cool. Over here we got 1 unit of Brotherhood of the Bow. We basically have all the Brotherhood units in this battle, which is really cool. Really nice skirmish cavalry. If you're gonna bring skirmish cavalry, I would say bring Brotherhood of the Bow, or maybe some of the other Khandish picks. These guys are really strong. I think they have AP arrows, which makes them particularly powerful as archers and makes up for the fact that they've only got 32 men in a unit. They've also got multiple HP, so it's not easy to kill these guys, and of course they are very fast. Over here we have the Brotherhood of the Lance, a unit that I'm sure we're all familiar with at this point. They're a little bit less powerful than they used to be, and you can only take about 1 of them, I think, before you get a price increase, but they are still very strong cavalry, as you would expect from a... it's kind of like a General's Bodyguard unit, but it's also quite low in numbers. And behind them we have the Brotherhood of the Axe, which is where the Khandish General is hanging out this time around. They are exactly what you would expect them to be, a very powerful, high-tier shock unit. They are vulnerable to missiles as they lack shields, but they are AP and they have multiple HP, so they're pretty strong for that reason alone. Over here we have Brotherhood of the Sword, who I think have a little bit higher attack than the Brotherhood of the Axe, and maybe higher melee defense, but they don't have AP. But they do have these 2 really wicked-looking curved swords, which I absolutely love. So a lot of really powerful Brotherhood units here for Khand. I've also got 4 units of Nerniag infantry. They are a medium-tier infantry unit who also are armed with bows. So this is basically the skirmish line for Khand this time around, along with his Brotherhood of the Bow up there. He's also got 4 units, I believe, of Nurad Fudman, who don't look like much. I know they don't look like much, but these guys are AP. They are actually really scary, and they can bash down like heavily armored infantry units like you wouldn't believe. So be wary if you see a healthy contingent of Nurad Footmen. They are Khan's infantry ace in the hole in a lot of ways. Out in front of them, I believe there are 4 units of Nurad Militia, which is just like a cheap fodder unit. I think this unit was made custom by Sin of the Dark Cloud. They will not get much done on their own. They will die like dogs to arrows, to infantry, to just about anything. But they're a militia unit, so they're really just there to die in the place of things that are more important. And finally, for the final Khandish pick, we've got a unit of Nurad Windblades. These guys, I think, have been nerfed in 0.92, so they're not as strong as they used to be. They used to have 3 HP, now they only have 2. But I believe they are still AP, and they are very, very fast. They're like these crazy whirling dervishes that you can use for really quick hit-and-run strikes against infantry lines, and they're great at taking down other cavalry units. Definitely want to try and support them, though, because they are quite low numbers, so it's very easy to get them surrounded. Yeah, so don't let your god tier units like this get bogged down in massive infantry and surrounded and destroyed, because it's just not worth it. Now, the final army, we have the Kingdom of Harad being commanded by Starling. This is a very interesting army. It's quite small, but it does have a few things going for it that I think really synergize nicely with what Khan has brought. He's He's got 2 units of Muhad Berserkers, 2 units of Trollmen of Harad. Everybody loves these guys. AP, multiple HP, really strong battle line infantry, basically the backbone of any serious Harad infantry force. He's also got a couple units of Haradrim archers. Can't see them right there, but he's got a unit of Hashari Shadows. 1 unit of Dismounted Serpent Guard. You usually see more than one of these guys. They've been tailored essentially in 0.9 and 0.91 to be a pretty decent heavy infantry mainline unit. But only one of them this time around, which is interesting. I've also got, there's a few hidden units as well, I think. 1 unit of Demons of the Desert, which is like a Javelin unit, a very strong Javelin unit that's composed of Trollmen. They've got low numbers, but lots of HP, and like I think the best Javelin damage in the game. Starling's also got 1 unit of Serpent Bodyguards, which is where his general is hanging out. These guys are super fast. They will operate on the same principle as the Elder Pathfinders, except they're a little bit better, in my opinion. They're very, very quick, AP in just about every department, and yeah, just generally useful for exploiting slower cavalry like the Knights of Numinas and stuff like that, and exploiting gaps in lines. I think there might be a unit of Beast Tamers in here as well. No, I think we got... No. Actually, there's a unit of Hashari that's hiding around in here somewhere. Sorry. Hidden units, they tend to throw me for a loop. And finally, we have the mighty Mumakil, a single unit of these guys, which I think is why his army force is... his forces are so small, because Mumakil are very expensive. I think they cost like 1,500 or like 2,000 or something to bring. So Starling has really sacrificed to bring these guys, but they are essentially living battering rams, and they can do a lot of damage. So the battle kicks off with Arnor in a very compromising position. You really got to feel bad for them. They're kind of trapped between 2 different teams. There's the Dol Amroth Rohan combination over there, and just across the field from them, a very short distance, is of course Harad and Khand. And they've got their backs to the river. There's not a lot of places that they can go except through their enemies. Maybe they could try and exploit this large gap right here, but then they'd end up finding themselves surrounded. So Arnor is going to be in, I think, a little bit of trouble. And you can see Dol Amroth already beginning to get themselves in a position to begin to open fire on the lines of Arnor. Arnor, meanwhile, trying to consolidate the majority of their forces, gonna make a stand together, which is probably the best thing that they can do in this instance. But look at this, Oh my goodness, the Dol Amroth catapult already opening fire, going right for the Knights of Numinas, getting a nice little hit on them there. Followed up with a brutal second volley. Third one mercifully missing this poor beleaguered unit of Knights of Numinas, but they are not having a good day. I think about 10 or so of those guys have already fallen in battle. Actually, more than that. I think they start with 28, so that's pretty devastating for them. It's a very expensive unit to lose in the early game to artillery fire, but look at this. Over here, Harad is going to take advantage of the compromised position that Arnor is in, and they're going to send their Mumakil all by themselves, unfortunately, against the forces of Arnor. But oh man, they're just wreaking havoc on the bodyguard of Sawbones McTavish. Most of that unit now has just been cut to pieces by the giant Mumakil. That is... Things are not looking great for Arnor at this point. They are trying to kill these guys. They're trying to focus fire them down with all of their archers at once, which is not a terrible idea. Maybe I wouldn't use the Doom Knight Troll Slayers. One of their biggest disadvantages is that they do not have a ton of ammunition, so this is maybe not the best thing to use them on. But it looks like, oh man, it is starting to pay off for them a little bit. One of those Mumakil has now fallen. There's a little bit of the bodyguard left, shaken as you would expect. The rest of that Mumakil from Starling now just charging through. I think this, I have to say, this is not the best use of his Mumakil. Yes, he's managed to trade them off with Bodyguard, which is kind of important, but it's not as important as Mumakil. It's not as expensive as the Mumakil. And as we saw earlier, Starling's force is very, very low in numbers. I think a lot of that has to do with what he's invested into his big creatures here. Now he's just going to kind of throw that away. I don't think that's the best use of his Mumakil. But let's get down and dirty right in the action. Watch that Mumakil charge right through those Arthadane men-at-arms, doing a lot of damage. Oh man, if it gets off a melee attack, it's gonna slaughter these guys. Anything in front of it, in like a cone in front of the Mumakil, will basically die. It's just wreaking havoc. Arnor desperately trying to stop these Mumakil, but it's just not working out for them. We saw a little bit earlier, and unfortunately we missed most of the action. But Arnor, Sawbones actually sent both of his contingents of Knights of Numinas over here to harry the forces of Dol Amroth, who brought out their hidden cav, and at the same time Rohan came up to support their ally. And now that cavalry from Arnor, the Knights of Numinas, beating a hasty retreat over the field. Most of them, however, have been slaughtered. So that's a lot of cavalry taken out very early. I think the entire contingent of Sawbone's cavalry has been destroyed, either by the Mumakil, who just won't friggin' die, or by the cavalry assault from Dol Amroth and Rohan. Let's see if they can finally manage to take down this damn Mumakil. Oh man, so far nothing. Dol Amroth now opening fire again. This is a great opportunity. A lot of Arnor's forces are a little bit bunched up trying to deal with this Mumakil. They're very distracted, so now is going to be the time for him to try and get some pot shots in with that trebuchet. But since all of that is going on, let's take a look at what's happening over here in some of the other portions of the field. You can see that the Dwarven Elven Alliance has now moved within striking distance of Khand and the rest of Harad's forces. I feel like the Mumakil are sorely missed in this kind of engagement. Breaking up a shield wall, this very formidable Dwarven shield wall, is the kind of thing that a large beast like Mumakil excels at. And so now Khand really doesn't have a whole lot of options except to try and break it down the old-fashioned way by throwing troops at it. And you can see the Nurad militia have taken already heavy casualties fighting against those Khazad warriors. They're already thinking about routing. So things not getting off to a great start over here for Khand, despite the aggressive tactics of their Haradrim ally that cost the Arnorians very, very dearly. I think the loss of the Mumakil that early in the game is really going to be a problem. You can see that the Khandish archers, the Nurniag infantry, opening fire on the Elder Palace Guard. That is the best target, I think, in this particular blob that they can go for. The Elder Palace Guard are very expensive and very deadly, especially against a faction like Khand and Harad, who don't necessarily have the best infantry in the world. These Elder Palace Guard could be a real menace, but they are very weak to missiles. So the Khandish player wisely taking advantage of that fact right now. All along the line, though, you can see the Nurad militia really struggling. Not a whole lot that they can do in this kind of fight. Harad has now moved in with some of his elites. You can see the Serpent Guard have been committed against the Khazad warriors, and they are now beating them back. Over here, these Muhad berserkers fighting against the airborne infantry. They will do a reasonable amount of damage alongside these Hashari, who have managed to overlap this flank and this blob of airborne infantry. But I don't think they're going to be able to pull this off event in the long run. So they are going to have to worry about their flank being broken by the Dwarven heavy infantry. Let's move on a little bit over here and see if if Arnor has managed to deal with those Mumakil, and indeed he has. It looks like they are now trying to beat a very hasty retreat back across what appears to be this river crossing here. That is a very deadly thing indeed. Because, of course, not Arnor, Dol Amroth and Rohan both command the field. You can see that they've moved in a lot of their cavalry to try and harass the beleaguered forces of Arnor. Arnor committing its Knights of Anuminas, what remains of them, to try and drive them back. And they have been successful so far. There's a fair amount of dead Rohirrim Royal Guard and other things like that here mixed in amongst the dead Knights of Anuminas. But I think that, yeah, this is going to turn around real fast. You can see the Knights of Anuminas charging forward, wanting to get a piece of the Rohirrim as they retreat, but they are just walking right into a trap. The Rohirrim are going to wheel back around and move in for a nice surround. This is some great teamwork on the part of Dol Amroth and Rohan. That is some, yeah, that's a really nice play to see right there, and that's going to be the end of the Arnorian cavalry. Over here, and looks like some of the Knights of the Silver Swan got a piece of the Dunedain Scouts. Oh man, that's not even fair. Those Dunedain Scouts did not have a hope or a prayer of beating those guys back, and now one of them is just going to try and flee back across to bring news of the disaster to the rest of the Arnorians. Although luckily, the Arnorian army has largely managed to remain intact. They've lost their cavalry, actually most of their cavalry, all of it, I think. I think that was the Rohirrim general just got cut down in that last stand by the Arnorian Knights of Anuminas. Very impressive. They definitely gave as good as they got in this engagement. It was not as much of a slaughter as we saw previously. But yes, most of the Arnorian army is intact, and they are going to be able to flee across there. And I think if it comes down to an infantry fight in a river battle, Arnor is going to come out on top. They've got a lot of Troll Slayers, and they've got a lot of dismounted Knights of Anuminas, or Dunedain Knights, whatever you want to call them. Which have like 3 HP and a ton of armor. You can see them actually forming up, I think, as the rear guard, trying to protect the Arnorian column from the advance of the Rohirrim cavalry. Rohan bodyguards charging hard into battle against the dismounted Dunedain Knights. Yeah, they actually claim the lives of a fair few of them, evening the odds in the infantry fight just that much more in favor of Rohan and Dol Amroth. As dismounted Knights not wanting to stay here and get caught out, I think that there's an opportunity here for Rohan to actually destroy this unit entirely. If they can get some cav in there, hold them down long enough to... Whoa. Whoa, that lag. Long enough to bring in their infantrymen, then they will be able to tie these guys up long enough to surround them and destroy them with some of their AP infantry, like their Rittermark Axemen and their Marshals of the Red, for example. But luckily, the stand by these Dunedain Knights is going to be enough to allow the rest of the Arnorians to flee across the river. I think that Dol Amroth is actually moving in with his archers now, looking to harry that column as it tries to move away out of the teeth of the Dol Amroth and Rohirrim archers. Let's move on over here and see how things are going for Khan. Not so great. We came back to a little bit of a massacre, especially over here on this flank. I think there was actually a cavalry charge in here that managed to beat back the Serpent Guard. Indeed, there they are, the Elder Pathfinders, looking to mop up what remains of the Khanish infantry. All along the line, you can see the Khan has just been beaten very, very soundly. What remains of the Nurad infantry fleeing. They didn't even manage to make it to the second line. These Elder Palace Guard managed to weather that arrow storm as well and come out pretty well as strong as could be hoped. Over here, the Nurad Footmen have been engaged. These guys are a lot better, and I would expect them to be able to beat the Hiranek, especially since they are slowly beginning to overwhelm them and wrap around on the flanks. But the rest of the Elven Infantry Corps is well intact and a little bit unoccupied at the moment. It looks like that's about to change with the charge of the rest of the Nurad Footmen companies, rather. And there they are, charging hard. I think that these guys can maybe beat the Hiri Lang. I don't know. The Elven units have a lot of melee defense, and they may be able to stand up to these guys, but the Nurad Footmen are AP, so when they connect, they are going to hit hard. Oh yeah, and defeat is certain. Look at this. Those Hiri Lang took that charge on the chin, which is maybe not the best thing for them. A little bit of a micro mistake, I think, on the part of the Elven player, Ragnar. Over here, the Khazad Warriors doing pretty well against the Nurad Footmen. Interesting formation. I think it looks like they're trying to just break through the thinner line and bisect the unit, but the presence of the Elder Palace Guard is going to prevent that from happening. You can see the Nurad Footmen being cut down quite a lot by this combined Dwarven and Elven offensive. Over here we can see the Ironfoot crossbows putting down withering fire into what remains of the Nurad crossbows, or the Nurad Footmen rather. And yeah, things not looking great for them. Actually, no, it looks like those crossbows are targeting the elites, the Brotherhood of the Sword, who do not have shields and don't have amazing armor, and you can see them really suffering badly at the hands of those crossbows. So the Khanish player, Delramir, oh, the Dwarven General just got hacked down by Starling's Serpent Guard. I wonder where that happened. Right over here. Not many Serpent Guard left, but damn, did they have an impact cutting down the Ironfoot crossbowmen. And a large number of the Mithril Guard who are facing the opposite direction. That is a big loss for the Dwarves in the long run. The Mithril Guard, very, very strong. Another charge here. Renewed vigor from the Serpent Guard. Unfortunately, they're going to be shut down by the presence of all these Elven cavalrymen. I don't know if the Elven cavalry is going to be fast enough, though the Serpent Guard are very swift. Oh, man, those Elder King's Guard shadowing these guys, but the Serpent Guard are going to manage to skirt away in time once more. But yeah, I think this fight is basically lost for Khand/Harad. Most of their infantry is gone. Most of their archers now gone. I don't think they've got a whole lot left at this point. Maybe the odd elite pick. Yeah, you can see a unit of Trollmen of Harad here. And we've got some forces that have managed to flee into the forest. I don't know. I'm seeing something on my mini-map here that's not moving. So maybe Harad managed to salvage a few of its men for another sneak attack later on in the battle. But I suppose we'll see in a few moments. Over here, though, Dol Amroth and Rohan have moved in, and they're just settling in for what appears to be a protracted siege. And there goes the Haradrim General, cut down by the Elder Palace Guard. Looks like they managed to pin them on a riverbank. But back to Dol Amroth and Rohan. They're moving in here, getting nice and settled to begin a siege. See the Dunedain Scout here. Look, wonder what this guy's all about. I think it's the odd pot shot here, the Tirthair Marksman. I think he might be going for that trebuchet. And indeed he is. Look at that. Very, very brave, but I don't think it's going to amount to too much. Arnor's really in a bit of a pickle here, I would say. They don't have the archers that have the stamina to compete with all the Tirthair Marksmen and the Nimrodel Rangers and everything else that Rohan has brought to bear as well. And of course, Dol Amroth has this ever-ominous, ever-present trebuchet piece, which can cause a lot of problems for the entrenched army of Arnor. If they use this to take down those dismounted Dunedain Knights, then I think that's going to even the infantry fight enough so that Rohan and Dol Amroth can really push across and finish off Arnor. Although if they do that, I wonder what the result is going to be for them having to take on the victorious forces of the Dwarves and the Elves. See the Kalanard Hun Knights moving in to push back this lone commando scout. I love it. Look at it. He's just taking hits every which way from the best cav in the game. Just refuses to die. And there he goes. Very unfortunate for him. But I will... Oh, wow. The Brotherhood of the Lance from Khand. Khand striking out against... Not Arnor. I keep calling them Arnor. Dol Amroth and Rohan. That is surprising. I would expect that he would use them on his side to help him try and win that engagement and maybe exact a little bit of revenge on the forces of the dwarves and the elves. But apparently he wants a piece of the Dol Amroth Rohan cavalry, and a piece he got. Look at this. They had a nice charge into the Knights of the Silver Swan. Did a lot of damage to them. Now heavily reduced Knights of the Silver Swan, giving chase alongside their allies Rohan, who is fast enough, I think, to catch up to these Brotherhood of the Lance. Look at that. Those Rohan bodyguard, no slouches, very excellent horsemen. They're going to be able to run these guys down. A little bit of archer support coming in as well. I think that's the Eorling archers laying down the pain. And I think that's going to be all that she wrote for the Brotherhood of the Lance. Maybe they'll try and flee into the forest and Rohan will give up chase. But largely they do not exist as an effective combat force. But I have to note that the Dol Amroth Rohan position, previously very strong, they've now checked Arnor, pushed them back across the river, dealt heavy casualties to their army, but now it's their turn to be surrounded. If you look at this, there's a victorious, very healthy Dwarven Elven alliance over there, and of course there's Arnor right across the river. So if they were to attack in tandem, I don't think that Rohan and Dol Amroth really have the forces to hold them back. They've got a lot of like mid-tier infantry units, like rank and file, whereas Arnor is definitely heavy on the elites, and the Dwarven Elven faction is as well. And just generally, their troops are a lot stronger than what's been brought to the field by Rohan Dol Amroth today. So I don't know. Maybe we could see this turnaround. We'll see. We'll see exactly what Dol Amroth and Rohan do in order to deal with this difficult situation. But over here, it looks like Khand and Harad have basically been completely defeated. I don't know if I saw admit defeat earlier, but I think that Khand does eventually admit defeat. But look at this, Starling being sneaky with some of his trollmen. I know he's got his demons of the desert around here somewhere. I think they were trying to flee earlier, but maybe they got themselves a little bit caught out. But he's definitely going to manage to flee to the hills with a unit of his trollmen, which a trollman unit in the pocket, that's pretty deadly, especially into the late game once these remaining forces have begun to exhaust each other. So if they're not going to chase him down, maybe they don't see it. Maybe they just think it's a routing unit on their mini-map. But if they're not going to chase him down, it could be that Harad could have a big impact much later on in the battle. Pardon me. But it looks like the Elven and Dwarven forces just going to take a bit of a rest now. They're looking pretty battered. The Khan fight took a lot out of their infantry contingents, especially their Khazad warriors. Their Erebor infantry not looking quite so proud as they used to. The Ironfoot Guard also not doing great. Now if we look over here, you can see the Harad. They had some Trollmen and some Serpent Guard and all kinds of nasty stuff in there. Really gave it to those elite Dwarven infantry. But they still got their Elder Palace Guard in good shape and a fair amount of line infantry as well. So they're not in the worst shape. Let's see what we got over here. Looks like those other Pathfinders were chasing something down, but maybe they thought a little bit better of it. So now we've kind of just devolved into a bit of a stalemate. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, and I will see you. You can see the skirmish fight now getting heated between Arnor and Dol Amroth Rohan on the other side of the river. Looks like Mates' Dol Amroth here with their marksmen are a little bit out of formation. I don't know, maybe their easy victory so far has made them a little bit overconfident, but I would definitely spread these guys out a little bit more. You don't want to take unnecessary casualties if you don't have to, especially when you still have another enemy just across the way that needs to be dealt with. You can see Rohan moving in to support his ally in just kind of battering down the front gate of the Arnorian defense. And the Nimrindale Rangers actually in there as well. I don't see, this is I think potentially a big problem. The forces of Dol Amroth and Gondor, they've got a large skirmish advantage over Arnor, who really just has to sit there and take it. But you need to still be wise with your ammunition and pick your targets well. So if those Nimrindale Rangers are going to be shooting at Arnor men-at-arms, for example, that is not worth their ammunition. They have AP missiles. You want to have them targeting down, or focus firing units like the Dunedain Knights, for example, because the infantry fight, despite the fact that Arnor is on the back foot, they have the superior infantry force at this point. So you definitely need to be a little bit more cautious, I think, with their ammunition. But that being said, it looks like the Nimrindale Rangers have stopped firing, so I think they realize what they have to do. But speaking of their enemies just across the way yet to be dealt with, look at this army. They've got admittedly it's quite small looking, but these are dwarves and elves we're talking about. These are two very strong factions, especially when it comes to close quarters. So if Rohan Dol Amroth wants to come out of this on top, then they really need to try and preserve their numbers as best they can. I think the best way of doing that is to use their ammunition wisely. Yeah, still a lot of very scary units here. Elder Council, and a very healthy unit of Elder King's Guard. That's a substantial unit of cavalry. If the elves can kind of, I don't know, if they can find a way to deal with the Dol Amroth and Rohan cavalry, then they are definitely going to have superiority, because at this point, the Rohan Dol Amroth cav contingents are quite beaten up. Look at this. These Rohan bodyguards down to 7. Rohan nobles down to a mere 11. The biggest ace in the hole they have is these 10 Kalanarhan knights, who I think are more than capable of taking on this Elder King's Guard, basically on their own. More devastating catapult or trebuchet shots going into the Arnorian army, and it looks like they've managed to claim the lives of a fair amount of these dismounted Dunedain knights. This is exactly what they need to be doing. They need to even that infantry fight so that they can push across the river and come on top, because I don't think that their Arnor is going to budge from their position unless they see some sort of advantage in doing so. They've been, pardon me, they've been a little bit shell-shocked, I think, because of the beating that they took early on in the game. So I don't think that we're going to see them be too aggressive at this point. Yeah, just a long, protracted skirmish fight at this point. Not a whole lot, I think, to be done for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fast forward one more time, and I'll see you guys in just a moment. Finally, the moment has arrived. Rohan now looking to ford the crossing and take the fight to Arnor. The skirmish phase now well and truly over. You can see these Rittermark Axemen charging up the bank, looking to get a piece of those Arnor men-at-arms. This is not going to be an easy fight for these guys. They are already winded because of having to make this river crossing in the first place, and they are only backed up with a unit of the Orling Militia. I understand what they're doing. This is wave tactics. They're just trying to wear down the front line with some of their cheaper units before they move in and move in truly in force with their more important forces. But at this point, I think that Arnor is largely spent. They don't have a ton of archers. The Trollmen, or the Troll Slayers rather, won't be able to do a lot of range damage to them. The only thing they really have to worry about is the Dunedain bodyguard, who are quite low numbers. So I think the best thing that they could do at this point is just move across, in force, sweep away this front line, and begin to push through the Arnorian lines. Going in just a little bit at a time like this, just trickling in, I think is going to cost more lives than it's going to save ultimately. But we'll see how it works out for them. Let's take a look over here. You can see a little bit of movement. Looks like maybe the dwarves and elves are looking to join the fight. Although they appear to be just reforming. Well, that's just no fun. Now is a very good time, I think, for them to be able to move in. Although they could be waiting a little bit on Rohan Dol Amroth to commit a little bit further to this fight against Arnor before they're feeling comfortable sacrificing their potentially sacrificing their armies to flank them. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward that just a little bit and watch this glorious action. The Arnorian men-at-arms alongside their, well, the Arnorians alongside the other Arnorians fighting hard against Rohan. Dol Amroth has yet to commit any forces at this point, which is a little bit surprising. Looks like we're seeing some early routing here from the first wave of Rittermark Axemen. Not surprising, they were quite tired, quite reduced by the time they got over here, but unfortunately that's going to spook the Orling Militia. Look at this, these guys may rout here. What is this? Khand? Khand is attacking somebody? Okay, no, I gotta see what's going on over here. It looks like Khand might have had a hidden general unit. Yes, this is their Brotherhood of the Axe have now charged into battle against the elves. I'm not sure that this was the best time for it, but Khand went for it nonetheless. Getting a nice piece of those Sindar Blade Masters who are now heavily reduced, but the elves are going to react quite quickly. Ragnar apparently is not one to be caught unawares for very long. He's now moved in with his Hiri Lang and his Woodland Patrol, and they're surrounding the Brotherhood of the Axe. And that is going to be a losing fight for them real fast. So I think that's all she wrote for the forces of Khand. I don't believe they have anything else left at this point, although I know that Harad still does. Lurking around here in the woods somewhere, there is definitely a Haradrim unit or two, so I hope we get to see more from them a little bit later in the battle. But moving on back to the Arnor-Rohan fight, you can see that Arnor, even with just its fodder units, its Arnor men-at-arms, have handily defeated the first wave from Rohan, and this is what I was afraid of, because there's just not enough of them to push through and make up for the fact that they are all very tired after making this river crossing. Arnor is going to be able to clean them up piece by piece and I think ultimately that's going to turn into a net loss for the forces of Dol Amroth / Rohan. Yeah, very unfortunate. Can see a lot of dead Rohirrim bodies, although actually this is the first time I'm seeing this. There's a lot of dead Arnorians in the water as well. I think we have the Tirthair marksman over there to thank for that as the Arnorians were retreating across the river. But another wave from Rohan coming in. I would walk them. At this point, I would definitely walk them because they're getting very tired by the time they get to the other end, and they're just not quite as effective as they could otherwise be against those beleaguered units of men-at-arms who are starting to be worn down despite the victory that Arnor has had over here. The Rohirrim forces are making progress at least against these few units that have been stationed at the mouth of this crossing. What else do they have in store? It looks like Tirthair marksmen now out of ammunition. We could see them being thrown into the fray as well. They've got a reasonable amount of defense and some pretty nice armor, so maybe they're a decent pairing for the Arnor men-at-arms. But Dol Amroth, very much intact. They've got a lot of troops still stationed here. I think they're going to be okay to push across the river, but I don't think letting their ally do it all by himself is a good idea. Rohan is not exactly known for its infantry, so this is just... I think this is going to end up being a waste of lives. Look at this. Countercharge now from the Arnorians. 1 or 2 units of Arthedain men-at-arms moving down to the river crossing to reinforce their brothers, and they're going to be able to beat these Riddermark axemen down. Look at this. They're all winded, taking a little bit of fire from the archers stationed on the banks over there. I believe that would be the Dunedain bodyguard. Yeah, I can see them in the back. Yeah, this is not a fight that's going to go in favor of Arnor. They definitely need some help from their ally, Dol Amroth. Man, those Hurling militia definitely came to the wrong party. They are not going to do anything to these Arthedain men-at-arms, who are quite heavily armored. Still, nonetheless, they are charging bravely in the battle. Look at that. It's a beautiful sight. Let's see what's going on over here. A little bit of movement. The Tirthair marksmen alongside some of the cavalry. Looks like they're positioning themselves. Maybe there's a little bit of movement here, and indeed there is. The Elder Pathfinders looking to kind of sneak in here. A very small unit running a glorious commando raid. I wonder if they're going for the trebuchet. I don't think the trebuchet has any ammunition at this point. So this could be a wasted gesture, but still, not a bad idea. It looks like Dol Amroth isn't really expecting this, isn't seeing this small unit sneak towards his lines. They're going to get in there and flatten one of the crew members against his own trebuchet piece. But I think that is going to reveal the game a little bit. You can see Dol Amroth actually now knows what's happening, is moving in some of his infantry to try and deal with these guys. Oh, these guys wheeling back around, reforming for another charge. They're just going to charge right into the artillery piece and not really accomplish anything. Oh, that guy just charged right through it. That's strange. Dol Amroth moving in with his Tirthair marksman. He's not going to be able to catch these guys, though. The Elven Pathfinders are too swift for those heavy infantry. I wonder what else these guys are going to get up to. Charging the Orling militia, maybe? Miss Micro here, I think, is going to find them caught out by that spear unit. Very, very nice. And because of this loose formation, they are going to be surrounded on all sides. Let's see if they manage to escape from that. Oh, they did. Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment. I want to take a quick look at how things are going over here. The Arnorian counter push is bearing some serious fruit. Rohan just doesn't have the troops to push. Ooh, a little bit of lag there. To push through this choke point. Not looking good for them right now. Now, where did those Pathfinders go? Looks like they're taking a bite out of the Tirthair marksmen that still have ammunition. Ragnar definitely choosing his targets wisely, not throwing away this opportunity. What I like to see. Some Yorling archers here falling back, maybe going after those other Pathfinders. Don't know what these guys... There's only so many targets these guys can pick, so I think it's time to commit. Looks like they got caught up with the Yorling archers, and then looks like maybe that's where they're going to stay. Ah, the lag. I don't know why that's happening. White Knights charging hard in the battle, looking to silence these Pathfinders. The White Knights not going to have a chance of catching them. Other Pathfinders much, much faster than those heavy cavalrymen. Oh, please, don't do it. Not the pike unit. Yeah, Ragnar's still looking for an opportunity. Still looking for something that he can use these Pathfinders for to be a little bit cheeky. Just diving in and out of the Dol Amroth formation, just looking for an opportunity. But I don't think he's gonna get it. I think he's a little. Oh my goodness! He just kited those White Knights from mates into the stakes rather That is a beautiful piece of maneuvering right there. Well done to Ragnar. I love it. I love it when that kind of thing happens. If Dol not careful, his Knights of the Silver Swan are going to meet the same fate. Oh my goodness! Mate's just not paying enough attention here. Oh, that is very sad. Oh, these are the Arnorian stakes too, so a little bit of proxy vengeance for Arnor here, wiping out that Silver Swan unit. Oh, there was like 16 of them left. Oh, those Elder Pathfinders. Cheeky, cheeky, cheeky. I love it. But let's move on to the infantry fight now. Looks like Dol Amroth has now joined the fight with an understrength unit of men-at-arms. They're not committing enough. They need to either commit and fight these guys, or they need to go over there and deal with the dwarves and the elves. But something needs to happen, and I think it needs to happen quick, or Dol Amroth and Rohan are going to throw away their numerical advantage. Previous to this, their armies hadn't been tested, but now I think this is starting to be a problem. There you have it. The announcer said it best. Defeat seems almost certain for Rohan Dol Amroth at this point. They're expending a lot of their strength on trying to push this crossing. Look at all of the dead Rohirrim. This has been a massacre for Rohan and Dol Amroth. Yeah, and Arnor just sitting there patiently. They've got the numbers. Look at this. They are nowhere near spent. Meanwhile, Dol Amroth and Rohan losing numbers by the moment. Got some Marshals of the Red here. I hope that these guys are walking, or they're going to be tired by the time they get over. Oh, it's still fresh. Maybe this is going to be what Rohan needs. Finally, some elites to get in there and push these guys back. The Dunedain... Oh, a little bit of lag there again. The Dunedain Bodyguard are going to exact a pretty terrible toll on these guys, but I think they've used up a fair amount of their ammunition at this point, so they're not going to be a threat for too much longer. The Troll Slayer's probably got nothing left. So yeah, I think this big push here is going to be what they need to finally get the foothold that they've been struggling to establish for pretty much this entire fight. Yeah, the Arnorian men-at-arms, looks like we might see a little bit of routing here. Marshals of the Red doing work against these men-at-arms. Renewed charge with vigor from Arnor. Looking to push back the invaders. But I think it's a little bit too late. Rohan and Dol Amroth are going to be able to establish something of a foothold and push back hard against the Arthurian men-at-arms and the Arnor men-at-arms, who are starting to lose this fight quite significantly. Look at that. Look at them drop. Yeah, some arrow fire coming in from, I think that would be the Dunedain Bodyguard. I don't know where they are. Right here. Oh, some Dunedain Rangers. Not enough of them left to make a difference. This is going to be it. I think Dol Amroth and Rohan are finally going to press the issue and make it across the river. What do we got going on over here? It looks like a little bit of movement. Rohan Bodyguards possibly looking to get a piece of... Maybe the Elder Pathfinders have been a bit of a pain at this point. No, I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing what they're going after. Maybe they're running down the Pathfinders and that's where they escaped to. But still, the Elves and Dwarves holding their position, biding their time. Very sneaky. Not very cinematic, but definitely very sneaky. This is probably... Oh, that lag. This is probably the most prudent choice that they could make. Just waiting for Dol Amroth to expend their strength here, and it seems like they are more than willing to do it. The Dol Amroth-Rohan combination, more than willing to really heavily commit to this fight. And it is starting to bear a little bit of fruit for them. You can see some Troll Slayers moving in. Maybe these guys will have the impact that is needed. I hope that there's some missiles left for Dol Amroth Arnor, because that is going to be a big part of winning this fight. If they can shoot down those Troll Slayers, or even just get some volleys in there, maybe they'll hit one or two of them. That is going to go a long way to taking down this infantry blob from Arnor. This I'm not too sure about. Rohan now committing the full strength of their cavalry alongside the rest of their elites. The Helm Hammer is now entering the fray alongside the second unit of Marshals of the Red. Maybe this is going to be enough. I don't know. I think the Troll Slayers are anti-cavalry as well, thanks to their giant two-handed axes. So that could be a mistake. And it looks like Rohan is actually thinking so as well, and now pulling back his forces across the river. Yeah, it's just a slow grind fest at this point. Dol Amroth has moved up with their men-at-arms to protect the flank. I think they're quite satisfied with the progress that they are making, but I think that the Arnorians are going to be able to start to pull this back. I don't know, maybe with the addition of the Helm Hammers is going to be enough. But there's still quite a lot of men-at-arms here. And those Troll Slayers, that's real scary. And it looks like they do have some arrows. So those Aorling Archers firing at the Troll Slayers. I think they have just enough damage to be a threat to the Troll Slayers, which is perfect. There we go. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward that just a little bit. The Arnorians actually being pushed back. The reinforcements in the form of those Helm Hammers and the second unit of Knights of the Red is going to be what's needed. Arnord, though, I think they have the troops to shut it down. You can see another unit of Arthedain men-at-arms alongside a second reserve unit of Troll Slayers, or a third reserve unit, rather, pushing now back hard against the Helm Hammerers. I don't know. This could be anybody's game. Of course, I say that as the dismounted Dunedain Knights are moving up. One or two units of them, in fact. That is going to be enough to overwhelm the forces of Rohan. They're committing heavily, though. You can see the Kalanardhan Knights and Rohan Nobles moving in response, as well as a single unit of Dol Amroth men-at-arms. I don't know. This is going to be a tough fight. We'll see what happens. But let's take a quick look. I can see some movement on the part of the elves and the dwarves, and it looks like they have chosen this as their moment to begin to move forward. This is some sneaky backstabbing right here. Apollo and his ally Ragnar have bided their time very wisely, and they've chosen a very opportune moment to move in and engage Dol Amroth. So now they've got a couple choices. Either they can heavily commit to the fight against Arnor, try and beat them quickly and rush across the river and then occupy their position, or they can try and fight it out with the dwarves and the elves. And you know what? I think fighting it out with the dwarves and the elves would be the best option at this point. 2 units of pikemen, a unit of Haven Guard, and all these men-at-arms. That, I think, is going to be everything that they need. Maybe a unit of Rohirrim Cavalry if they pull them out of the fight. They've also got some Nimrodel Rangers and some Aorling Archers. They've got the troops that they need, I think, to beat down the dwarves and the elves. But it remains to be seen what kind of decision they're going to make. Looks like that cavalry, the Kalanardhan Knights in their defeat, actually certain for them, because Arnor is now really committed in everything that they've got. I think it now would be the time to cut your losses, bring your cavalry back along to the other side, and maybe try and make a stand against the dwarves and the elves. They could even fall back at this point, try and get out of the way of the dwarves and the elves, fight them down, and maybe induce Arnor to come across and try and flank the dwarves as they chase Dol Amroth. I don't know. It doesn't look like they're showing any signs of wanting to budge from this position. Mates and his ally, DI, definitely stubbornly digging in their heels and preparing for a fight against the treacherous, I would say, dwarves and the elves. They were very sneaky. I appreciate that. How are we doing over here? Marshals of the Red, alongside everything that Arnor has left, fighting it out. I don't think this is going to go well. Those dismounted Dunedain Knights are just such a terror. There's still bodyguards, still Troll Slayers, and still another unit of dismounted Knights. I don't know. I think we're going to see the fall of Dol Amroth and Rohan, which is a little bit surprising to me. Not surprising given the course of events that we've witnessed, but because they came out so strong in the early game, I honestly thought that they were going to have it easy. But let's take a look in the forest, because as I recall, there are some units from Harad and company that are still hiding out here, and it looks like there they are. The Trollman of Harad from Starling. He's got some allies in the back as well. What do we have down here? Oh, I think I spied them hiding out in the trees. Nope, I got no idea. They may be hidden. It may not be a general unit or something like that. But yes, there is definitely still a force to be dealt with that could menace the flanks of either Dol Amroth and Rohan, or the Elven Dwarven coalition. And given the history between Harad and the dwarves and the elves, I feel like they're going to go for that faction, for those two factions rather, instead of for Dol Amroth and Rohan. Arnor slowly beating these guys back. Yeah, there's not a lot of steam, I think, left in this fight. Oh, the Nimrodel Rangers now in combat as well. I guess they must be out of ammunition. They're not going to... Ooh, a little bit of lag there. They're not going to do so well against the Troll Slayers and those heavily armored Dunedain Knights. Not too sure what's happening here. Looks like the Haven Guard. So it looks like Dol Amroth has decided instead to double down on their assault on the river. They're going to move in with the best of the best. They got their Haven Guard and their Dol Amroth pikemen, who are excellent at pushing choke points. So we'll see. Maybe Dol Amroth is going to be able to get across there, but at what cost, honestly? This is going to be a pretty tough fight for them. You can see the rest of their Dwarven men-at-arms. That looks like yeah, they're gonna go all in at this point, commit everything they got to fighting Arnor. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that that is the best course of action at this point. Dwarves and elves, they're more than willing to just let them do that, let them seal their own fate, and they're just gonna sit there, and I think they're gonna try and wipe up any survivors. Well, let's go ahead and let's fast forward things a little bit here. Oh man, Arnor now officially breaking through, but the damage I think has been done to Arnor. Unless Dol Amroth and Arnor come to some kind of agreement, I think the dwarves and the elves are gonna take this. I'm gonna call it right now. That's my final answer for sure. The dwarves and the elves are in a great position to come out on top, and I think that they're gonna be able to do it. Oh, it looks like there goes Prince Imrahil getting cut down by one of the Troll Slayers. And that's going to be the end of Dol Amroth's bodyguard, which is surprising. He only just made it into the fight and then like died 2 seconds later. Oh, Prince Imrahil. What do we got in the back? Some Yorling archers. The rest of the Dol Amroth infantry running across the river. Oh no, looks like they're walking. Definitely looks like Dol Amroth has learned their lesson at this point. Not going to run any more troops across this riverbed. We got over there some 2-9 bodyguard claiming some easy kills on the Dol Amroth men-at-arms. Just not enough of them though to really be a huge threat. How are the Haven Guard doing? Defeat certain for these guys. Oh man, the Rohirrim now fleeing off the battlefield. I think that's the last of the Rohirrim. This is disastrous for the Dol Amroth Rohan Alliance. Really, it's just Dol Amroth at this point. Let's see if those men-at-arms can make all the difference. A lot of these troops are going to be tired by now. But with those 2-9 bodyguards in the fight, they are AP alongside those Troll Slayers. I don't know. Even though the Dol Amroth forces are managing to kind of scoot around the flanks and overlap these guys, effecting a decent little miniature surround, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Let's get right into the fight. Yeah, I can just see those Dol Amroth men-at-arms evaporating almost as soon as they can get in there. This is a surprising upset. We got some archers, some elven archers on the other bank, peppering down this blob. Those Aorling archers from DI. Looks like they have found their courage and have now rallied, moving back into the fight against Arnor. Oh man, yeah, this is gonna be the dwarves and the elves. There's almost no way that Arnor can beat them. They just don't have the numbers left. Dol Amroth certainly saw to that. Let's see, that's going to be the end of the Dol Amroth Arnor. I keep calling them Arnor. The Dol Amroth Rohan Alliance. They are now broken. Their entire army dead on this river crossing. They never even made it past the bank. That is very, very unfortunate. This river has just turned into a graveyard. And looks like it's going to be the turn of the elves and the dwarves to settle in for a little bit of a skirmish fight. I'm not sure what they got left at this point aside from those elven archers, who appear to be out of ammo. Oh, no, not this one. This one still has a little bit of juice left in them. And there they are, making that crossing in force, looking to overwhelm the now very thinly spread lines of Arnor. They've got some good units in here. They've got some Troll Slayers, they've got a couple Dunedain bodyguards, and a couple units of dismounted Dunedain Knights, but most of them are very heavily reduced. The one in best shape at this point is this unit here with 35, but I don't know. Maybe. All these troops are fresh though. They've had a long... No. There's no way. It's not possible. Mathematically, it's not possible. They've got the numbers, they've got the stats. It's not happening. Nonetheless, though, Arnor is going to meet them. You can see them lining up to face their enemies once again. Let's see how they do. Those Troll Slayers charging hard into battle alongside the dismounted Dunedain Knights. Looks like they're trying to bottle them up. This is probably their best choice. But I think... Oh, wow, they are actually pushing them back. They are keeping them inside the riverbed. Oh, man, there goes the Arnorian General. I think that would be Captain... yeah, it would be Captain's General. Oh, this is not good. That flank is being broken under the weight of 2 Dwarven Heavy Infantry units backed up by the Hiri Bang. Yeah, there's no way the Arnor's coming out from this on top. We've got no more reserves. I think... I don't know. Maybe that was another one of the Arnorian generals. Yeah, basically everyone's general is dead at this point, I think, except for the elves. Let's go ahead and fast forward just a tad. Witness the lag. The final stand of the men of Arnor. Look at him go. Those troll slayers, these Arnorians have seen some stuff today. Like, look at this. They've been through quite a lot. Still, they are putting up quite a stand. I think if there was maybe another unit or so of Dunedain Knights and maybe another unit of bodyguards, then they might have been able to hold the line and shut down this first wave. But as it is, the first wave has cracked the Arnorian defense. Finally, someone managed to do it, and Arnor is just being swiftly cut down. So we're going to go ahead and put it on 6 times and witness the end. Just a handful of bodyguard left at this point, being driven back off the banks, swiftly cut down. You know what? I didn't see what happened with the trollmen. I don't think that they did. Oh, here they are. In fact, they are still around. Looks like they took some light casualties, maybe. Yeah, they're definitely taking some damage. They're not full strength anymore. Oh, what is this? Rohan still has 2 hidden units. Look at this. Couple of shield maidens. Maybe that's why these trollmen of Harad aren't doing so great. Honestly, at this point, these two should be collaborating against the elves and the dwarves, but they just can't seem to put aside their differences for whatever reason. And I think that's going to give the advantage to the elves and the dwarves. Looks like the what remains of the Elder Kingsguard charging into battle against those shield maidens, doing a lot of damage. No, this could have been so perfect. They could have turned the game around and just kind of pulled the sheets out from under the elves and the dwarves, but unfortunately they just couldn't seem to agree on what they wanted to do. And now these shield maidens looking like they're going to die without having managed to accomplish too much. Oh, that's so unfortunate. That makes me so sad. Oh, they are hacking down these Elder Kingsguard pretty swiftly. Let's see what these guys are up to. What do we got here? Some dwarven crossbowmen. Oh man, those poor trollmen. They're not going to be able to cover that distance in time. Yeah, another withering volley coming in. Oh, a little bit of lag there. That's my bad. Another withering volley being shot into the front of those trollmen. Oh, it's so sad. They waited for so long only to die in such a sordid fashion. See how things are going over here. Looks like the shield maidens managed to take cover behind these stakes. I've seen a lot of that so far. I think they should be moving in to maybe attack some of these Fury Bang and some of these Woodland Patrol. I think they do okay. Oh, there's the Elder Palace Guard there, still looking real healthy. Oh man, those trollmen are just being beaten back by Ironfoot crossbowmen. That is so sad. That makes me very sad. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward a little bit. Let's see if there's any Arnorians on the other bank left. Nope, mostly it's dwarves and elves. Oh man, this has been quite the upset in the there have been quite a lot of upsets, I should say, in this battle. And those other Royal Guard. This is not going to be a winning fight for those Rohirrim, but they're going to go charging bravely into battle, shrieking their war cries nonetheless. Come on, shield maidens, don't let us down. Give us a good fight. Awesome javelins in the back there from the Elder Council. Oh, the irony of this javelin unit being destroyed by javelins. Charged from the rear by the Elder Kingsguard. Gonna see these guys off for good. Or these ladies, I should say. The shield maidens are now routing. And all resistance to the Elven and Dwarven alliance has been crushed. Very well done to those two players. They were definitely the most patient of the two. Thought their moves well ahead, well in advance, and ultimately came out the victor. So congratulations to them. But there's a lot. Look at this. Ragnar just chewing everybody out, doing a lot of damage with his Sylvan Elves. Arnor, though, got a fair amount of kills as well. And so did DI. DI definitely competitive in like the top 5 kills, I think, for the battle. Let's take a look at some of the casualties here. 2-9 Troll Slayers doing work. That is a unit of like 41. Wow. Well done. Well done. Up here, Dismounted Dunedain Knights, 197 kills. Troll Slayers again for Captain, doing real well. 124, 185. that was not bad for Honor. They definitely made the best out of a really difficult situation and managed to last well longer than I was expecting them to be perfectly honest. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My apologies that this one took so long to get out. I have been very busy with real life stuff, and I'm hoping that that's not going to continue to be the case. But I can assure you, there will always be 1 or 2 videos a week for you guys to enjoy. Coming up next, I have so many replays, so I think I'm going to continue to go through that and release the odds Let's Play episode here and there. I think it's been a while since we had For Honor. I'd like to continue our Skyrim RP as well. Although I have a few different ideas for that. I was thinking maybe I would live stream it. That's a little bit more conducive to the format that I want it to run with, because I want it to be interactive. So if you guys want to see me do a stream, I can do it on Twitch, I can do it on YouTube, whatever you guys would prefer. And we're gonna play some like heavily modded Skyrim. I've added some new mods since. Then yeah, let me know, and I would be more than happy to do that for you because I love Skyrim. But in any case, I've been JMonster. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will